Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, aka Bad Bunny, is a global icon that can't be denied. He has 3 Grammys, 11 Latin Grammys, 29 Billboard Latin Music Awards. He was Artist of the Year in 2022 and 2023. He's Time Magazine's 100 most influential people on the globe today. He's actually the #1 streaming artist on Spotify as we speak. Bad Bunny is actually the probably the third greatest entertainer in the world today behind Beyonce and Taylor Swift. I mean, he's a remarkable young man, has done incredible things. And one of the things I've learned about him is that he's unapologetically Latino. He's going to do things his way to promote his culture, promote his passion, promote his music, and he's not going to compromise. You know, he's one of very few Latin acts that didn't translate their songs into English, and he still became a global icon. So you ask me, is this a good decision? It was a great decision to have Bad Bunny as halftime entertainment, and there's a lot of, obviously economic reasons, but cultural reasons as well. But before we get into all of that, you need to talk about where the halftime show started. In the early 70s, it was basically marching bands, local school bands, universities. Once in a while you would hope that a HBCU band got in there, or maybe Howard or Southern, just to add a little swag and a little flavor. But most of the times it was just straight bland. And then, every now and then Carol Channing would come in and do a song and dance in front of one of these bands. Carol was a big time Broadway star. She was the first one of those, I guess, dumb blonde kind of that all the boys wanted to do was give them diamonds. They were a girl's best friend. That was Carol Channing. And she performed well. And that was basically it. When the 80s came, they had sort of a new concept. There was this group. It was a nonprofit organization. It was called Up With People. And it was a group of young people. It was basically a dance and song troupe, singing troupe. And they would promote songs of diversity and embracing different cultures. Yeah, before America was great again, we actually valued diversity. And this group, Up With People, they performed at maybe 4 or 5 Super Bowls, and they put on great shows. But, it wasn't until 1993 that something changed, something happened that elevated this halftime show to the spectacle it is today. And it was Michael Jackson. Yeah, Michael Jackson performed at the Super Bowl 1993. I think it was Super Bowl 27. And this was before, all of the allegations with child molestation and all that stuff. Mike image was still intact. His face was morphed, but his image was basically intact, and he was the most recognizable person on planet Earth. He was bad, as they say. So I don't remember much about the performance, but the one thing I remember is when Mike popped out of the stage, right? He had on that Captain Crunch outfit he always be wearing with the white glove. And he stood there for I don't know what it was, about a minute and a half. And it was like his magnetism just drew us to him. He didn't have to do anything. We were just mesmerized by looking at this cat. And I know the paramedics had to be on point because people were just passing out left and right out there in the arena, in the stadium. And just a little side note here, because I've been hearing this a lot. Chris Brown is not on Michael Jackson's level, okay? You need to stop that nonsense. He doesn't sing like Mike. He doesn't write songs as well as Mike. He sure as hell doesn't dance as well as Mike. He may be a little athletic and do a backflip or whatever, but he's never as smooth as Mike was on the dance floor. And I know I got to stay on track, but I just wanted to say that because it's annoying me comparing Chris Brown to Michael Jackson. Stop doing that. Now, to this day, that halftime show with Michael Jackson, it generated more ratings than the game itself. It's never happened before. And that's when the NFL knew, hey, we got something here. We can package this halftime thing up. We can get sponsors for it. And basically what it is our entree onto other markets if we get other, global acts involved. And that's what they did. Now, in 2004, I think it was Super Bowl 38, it was a notable halftime. It was the wardrobe malfunction halftime. And it had Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake. And at the end of the act, Justin Timberlake goes and rips off Janet Jackson's top, and one of her breasts was exposed. Needless to say that this was a huge scandal across the nation, probably across the globe, and it was what everybody was talking about. And one of the things I remember about that moment or that time was, the media was making it as if it was all Janet Jackson's idea. She was the, ringleader and all of that. And, Justin had nothing to do with it. His arm just, magically came across her chest and ripped her shirt off. And Janet Jackson's career tumbled while Justin Timberlake's ascended. I guess he had the complexion for correction of his career because it really didn't hurt him at all, where it pretty much destroyed Janet Jackson's. And, I remember that, and it's just strange how the media will pick and choose who they want to punish for something that should have never happened. I mean, really, to add insult to injury, Justin Timberlake got to come back and perform solo at the Super Bowl in 2018, Super Bowl 52. And it's just, I don't know. These are the things that I see. And then the NFL, they got all scared. I guess they're consumers. They were worried about what they would think. So in the next few years, we had what I call the arthritic tour. They had all these old rock bands, had the Rolling Stones with Mick Jagger. Like, I'm a old school guy. I like old, rock. But come on, Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones. I mean, and I wasn't offended in a way where these guys are now with Bad Bunny. I was just like, I don't want to see that. I just got up and got myself a beer and I laughed at his flabby arms. I was like, come on, man. Put a long sleeve shirt on. Nobody want to see that. His arm looked like a chitlin. It was all gray and flabby. I'm like, come on, dog. But it wasn't for me, and that's okay. And then they had the Who. The what? The Who, I'd never liked them, but it wasn't for me. You know, who else did they have? They had Townsend. Like they had all these acts that were geared towards middle-aged white men. They wanted to cater to them because probably they made the most noise about Janet Jackson's boob. But, you know, it just goes to show you that this country, it's always wants to cater to a certain demographic all the time. And if it's not catered to them, then something's wrong. Something's got to change, you know. Even like cartoon characters, if it doesn't cater to them, they get upset. Little mermaids that once were white, now they're brown. It's a big deal. But, you know, something happened. In about 2019, Jay-Z struck up a deal. His not Rock Nation company struck up a deal with the NFL. And really what it was, and I was a little salty at the time at Jay-Z, it was basically to lend shade to the NFL or cover to the NFL for them blackballing Colin Kaepernick. You know, they treated this guy bad because he had a silent protest about the inequities in our criminal justice system. And all of a sudden he became a pariah, you know? He was disrespecting the troops. He was treated worse than those insurrectionists on January 6th who beat up cops with American flags. All he did was take a knee, but he was ostracized and called un-American. All these people, they know, they get to choose who's American, who's a patriot, who's not a patriot. And they get to pardon those who they think are real patriots. In 2022, I think it was, Super Bowl 56, man, yo, that's when they had the big hip hop thing, right? They had Dr. Dre, Eminem, who else they had? They had 50, Mary J. Blige, Snoop, and people upset. Same people upset now that Bad Bunny's gonna be headlining the show. They were upset about this show too. They were upset about, you know, Snoop crip walking and all of that stuff. And maybe they didn't realize that, again, the NFL is trying to go global and hip hop music is one of the most consumed mediums or genres out there across the globe, and especially in terms of streaming. And the NFL knew what they were doing. Jay-Z knew what they were doing, and it was a cultural thing. And it did very, very well. Then after that, he had a Prego Rihanna. That was the year my squad won it, you know. And then they had Kendrick Lamar. Now, Kendrick Lamar is an interesting character because he's a very deep thinker, and his lyrics were recognized, and he was a Pulitzer Prize winner. And he did this show. It had a lot of symbolism in it. And, you know, they said that he took shots at the White House. He took shots at the government. But I just think he wanted to express himself and let people know that, you know, this platform now is one in which you can send messages. And the message I believe he's trying to send was, you know, we see you, we know what you're doing. You're not going to just take our history away from us. It's not going to happen. And again, these people, They were so upset. Oh, I didn't understand what he was saying. What was he doing out there? There were no white people out there. For so many years, we've seen that there was no black people out on that field. Hell, there was no black people playing. But today, people, they just don't remember those things. And they don't acknowledge those things. They just want to be catered to now that America is great again. People were saying, "Oh, it went woke." They're always using that term. They're twisting it and turning it and making it ugly, and basically it means that they did something black that we don't understand and we don't like, so it's woke. They've gone woke. And you ask one of these guys to put it in succinct 2 or 3 sentences, what's woke mean to you? They wouldn't know. They get 100 different versions of it, but the bottom line is that it's something of color that they don't like, so then it's woke. So now we get to Bad Bunny. This guy, as I said before, is probably the third biggest entertainment star on planet Earth. And he's going to be on that stage come February, whether these people like it or not. And the shame of it is that the people that decide to go, they're always going to have to look over their shoulder, because this administration said that they're going to descend on SoFi Stadium. They're going to bring all these ICE agents, right? So, people who are out there trying to tailgate, they're going to be asked for their papers, they're going to be roughed up. And, it's just a bad scene. And they were talking about Bad Bunny, that he didn't do any dates here in the United States. Yeah, he didn't do any dates because he knew ICE agents were going to be camping out at his concerts, trying to ruin the experience, ruin the night, ruin the lives of his fans. Why would he do that? And these people, I don't know if they have any foresight whatsoever, but the whole world is going to be watching this game. What if something pops off? What if something pops off in the parking lot? We live in this social media internet age. It's going to seep right into the stadium. It's going to distract from the game, but they don't care.
There is nowhere you can provide safe haven to people who are in this country illegally, not the Super Bowl and nowhere else.
Will ICE have enforcement at the Super Bowl for the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show?
Benny, there is nowhere that you can provide safe haven to people who are in this country illegally, not the Super Bowl and nowhere else. We will find you, we will apprehend you, we will put you in a detention facility, and we will deport you. So know that that is a very real situation under this administration, which is completely contrary to how it used to be.
Trump's advisor went on to criticize the decision to choose the rapper, claiming that he, quote, seems to hate America so much.
It's so shameful that they've decided to pick somebody who just seems to hate America so much to represent them at the halftime game. I was at the Super Bowl last year with President Trump. I had the chance to be in Louisiana in his box and watch the game, and got to enjoy that. But listen, we should be trying to be inclusive and not exclusive. There are plenty of great bands and entertainment people out there who could be playing at that show that would be bringing people together and not separating them.
This neo-Nazi that's in the administration, there's no safe haven for illegal immigrants here in America, even during the Super Bowl. He's so hell-bent on getting these people. It's disgusting. And, so this is what we're going to have to deal with for the next 4 months. Talking about the NFL, it's gone woke. They're going to villainize this guy, Bad Bunny, Benito. They're gonna bring out, pictures of him in a dress or pictures of him in, demonic costumes. And they're gonna just spin this thing that, this is bad for America, when America's just been bad for itself. So, get your salsa on, baby. Bad Bunny gonna do his thing, and you get the added value of pissing these people off.
Sube, sube. Que ahora me quieres cambiar, sabiendo que